Hey, welcome into season 3 of the GASOCast, episode 8, ranking overreaction. We are talking players and teams that we may have been too low on, too high on. We're doing all the things here. But before we jump into that, I want to do some housekeeping. The GASOFast break is popping. We released the 25 rankings last week, the 26 rankings the week before. We had a special edition free newsletter drop of the team rankings, which we'll be updating soon. This week we got high school tournament superlatives from all the events we went to last week. We're talking a lot of players. I've got the Recruiting Simplified Patreon. That's $5 a month. It's really cheap, and we'll help you get recruited. Blue so kindly built a showcase and bracket schedule on our website, and basically it shows if there's a tournament going on in Texas, we have it located there with their bracket, and you can show up. I got word from the PISD Classic. Make sure you're following them on Twitter, simply because they may be changing venues based on football playoffs and stuff like that. So I did get word. Want to tell all the people about that. And then lastly, a Cup of Hoops, sponsored by Synergy. Blue and I run that show. This week we're not going to be able to get to it, but we are going to do a film study from our Synergy account. We're going to talk about a stream that we watched. And then Mike's coming out with tons of great stuff on his Acting Bad broadcast, and then he has more.
I got a pretty good name scheduled to shoot this week, so I'm excited for that. For the Kicking the Court side, Acting Bad broadcast, it's gonna get funner and funner. This was a great week, so look forward to my latest episode coming very soon.
Yeah, I like how you're doing them live now, Mike. It's media season. You're not? I thought you were going to do them live.
Yeah, I did do it live, but I mean, it's kicking my butt. Right? It's
If you want him to stay live, tweet at Michael. I think we should keep it live.
Wow.
And then you might want to subscribe and follow us. It's media season for the Gasser crew, and we're going to be everywhere this week. And we've got extra weekend of tournaments this year, which is fun. But enough of that. Let's jump into one quick thought about the weekend. Remind us where you were at, and then kind of give us your one quick thought. Blue, I'm going to pass it to you to start us off.
I was at Marcus Sloan's OTR Houston tip-off. Hey, you know what? Some teams are just overranked right now. You know, we'll get into that a little bit later, but you know, just seeing who was out there prepared, teams that were ready to compete at a very high level. You know, there's so much anticipation, and you get a little anxious to get there. And once you sit down and start watching games, you know, you just kind of, for me, just kind of sit back and get comfortable and try to stick it out for 12 hours, right? But you know, I thought I saw some high level play. Then I saw some play that kind of made me scratch my head a little bit, and so that's why we're there's a little bit of an overreaction here, because 2-3 games in a weekend doesn't make a whole season. So, but a lot of great talking points even among us. It brought up just in our office.
Love it. I was also in Houston at the RCS season opener. And my big takeaway with it, that Houston has a lot of contenders in 6A, and I'll talk a little bit later about some of them, but Bel Air, CE King, Atascocita, the Woodlands College Park, there's a lot of teams that's going to be vying in that region who are going to be formidable to hold up that state banner at the end of the year. Lyndon?
Yeah, I'm going to go conversely to Blue's point. The others receiving votes section. We're going to have a long line of teams who were not ranked at the start of the year, who may have put that as a chip on their shoulder and said, you know what, we deserve this, because just keeping my ear to the ground, and then the games that I was able to watch at Tom Rogers' event in Saginaw. I mean, there's a lot of teams who are just right there mid the cusp of the top 25 that played like top 25 teams this weekend. And so they're going to, I mean, if they can continue on that trend, they're going to be in when they come up in the next rankings refresh.
Yeah, and for me, toughness negates early sloppy offensive execution. I was at the Cowtown tip-off this week, and some of the games weren't the cleanest offensively. You know, I thought we had enough Gaso fall tours for all these teams across the state to get their act together. Maybe we add more next year. But no, even with some of the sloppy offensive execution, it was the teams that were tougher that were able to grind out more possessions. And when you have playmakers, specifically teams like Parrish Mansfield Lake Ridge, Mansfield Summit. Those three teams really caught my eye when things weren't so easy offensively down the stretch. They were able to get a couple more possessions for their guys to make plays, and it showed. So, yeah, right now the tougher teams seem to come out on top when everything's not crisp offensively.
Love it. That's a great one. I love this segment. Players that you just have to shout out. This is essentially the MVP of the weekend. Who's the guy who's just like undeniable that you have to give a shout out to? Lyndon, who's your guy?
I actually had two in the same game. I'm going to save the second one for our next segment, so I can talk about Patton Pinkins and his return. I mean, it's been, since it was 2 summers ago, TABC, the last time I got to see him in person. And then he comes out with 40. And then I get a text the next day from somebody at the event. It's like, hey, he just followed that up with 49 against Arlington Martin. And his shot making is crazy. He shoots it over the top of every defender. It doesn't matter whether there's a hand in his face or not. He's able to finish. He's getting to the mid-range and just so crafty. His touch and feel, it's almost like Luka Doncic, where you don't like, how did that go in? It doesn't look like it should have a chance, but the shot goes in, and it's probably going to be an and one because he's great at drawing contact for himself. Was really, really impressed with what I saw from him in his debut for the season.
Mike?
Yeah, for me, Adrian Mathis of Lake Travis, a name that was kind of talked about a lot in our office. It was great to see him lead the show for a team in Lake Travis that, when you lose a Hudson Greer, some other people need to step up. But the pure point guard ability from Adrian Mathis stood out. And there was a lot of times in that game when they played Prestonwood where I'm like, I could probably go for him being a little more offensive minded. And all of a sudden down the stretch when it was time to make plays, three ball, get to the basket. All of a sudden he finishes with 26 points. And you just realize looking at that Lake Travis team that they have a system in place. Coach Shaver does a great job. And Adrian Mathis runs that offense the way Lake Travis needs the offense to be run, with a lot of deep players that know how to play basketball over there. And he was just flawless in picking and choosing his spots to be a dude and also getting others involved. And when you finish with 26, you were acting bad. So shout out to Adrian Mathis. Looked really good, and it was a pleasure to see that.
Love it. I'm going to go with Mike Collins. Like, I haven't talked about him before, but, it was undeniable this weekend. He had all 9 points in overtime to win 48-47 over Houston St. Francis, who, I just say Alvin Shadow Creek and Houston St. Francis, like, there are 5 just complete alphas on the court. And Mike Collins just rose above it and just said, nope, I'm not losing this game, and was electric in overtime, electric during the whole game. But it just is really cool to see the cream rise to the top in a game like that. And Mike left no doubt. He said, I'm not going home with a loss, and he sure proved that point. Blue, why don't you round us out here?
My prospect gets an enthusiastic old baby from me because this guy put it all together. I just Davion Atkins from Oak Cliff Faith Family. Now, I saw a complete game from this guy. Like, it was from start to finish. He used his length. Every piece of his game, he put it out there this weekend. And he went out there and scored 26, grabbed. I'm sure he had close to a double-double, hitting little short-range jumpers, getting out on the break, leading it, finishing, just everything out there. People have said, why is this guy not number one in the class? Well, because I hadn't seen him put it. I hadn't. A lot of us probably can kind of talk back and forth about seeing the entire product. And yeah, if he continues to play the way he did this past weekend, then guess what? We get to really have a hard discussion. Though Dakari Spear, he needs to be knocked off at number one for this to happen. But it just shows you how rich the top part of this class is. And I was so happy to see what he went out there and did this weekend. Just really, really turned some heads.
Love it. Ranking overreaction, the part you tuned in for. Who is a player you wish you could re-rank after seeing him this weekend? Lyndon, I'm gonna point to you to tip us off here.
Yeah, and it's somebody who, it was the first time I think I've ever seen dueling 40 balls in the same game. On the other side, and on the winning side of this was DeAnthony Moore from Colleen Shoemaker. And when I talk about a guy who just grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck and said, "I'm winning this game. I want it more than anybody else on the court right now," it was D'Anthony. I mean, he was taking the ball away. I think he had like 8 dunks, and they were all just, "I'm going to take the ball. You're not getting in my way. Help side defender. I don't care. I'm finishing over the top with power." Was just, very, very reminiscent of some of those great guards that have been out of Colleen recently. Like I saw flashes of Jamiron Keller out there with D'Anthony's play. So I was really, excited to see him, and he's going to have a real case to be, in the top 50, if not higher, when our next rankings refresh comes out for that 2026 class.
Mike?
Yeah, for me, I posted on X like within 5 minutes of the Allen game that Allen's terrifying, and it's Nehemiah Lawrence is my guy when we look at rankings. We've gotten like the age of the smaller guard, especially in our office. We find love in those players more and more and more. And some of them are ranked higher than we've ever had smaller guards ranked in our state rankings. But when the number one team in the state walks into that gym at Cowtown and it's Nehemiah Lawrence all over the court, making every play possible, defense, offensively, I mean, he's just undeniable. And it's going to be like that over and over again. And when I feel like I'm sweating watching a basketball game, seeing him, that's more so because I'm like, if I was on that court, I'd be terrified to try to bring the ball up against him. But it's just knack for getting hands on the ball without fouling, walling people off, cutting people off. He's just such a polished basketball player, body control in the air at his height. I mean, it's just one of those undeniable things. And when you have the number one state ranked team in our GASO rankings and you're the lead guard, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to prove yourself and make big time statements. And a big time statement was made Saturday at the Cowtown tip off.
Yeah, and Michael made a comment that me and Blue were later laughing about. He just sent in the group text Allen 33. And we were like, what does that mean? That can mean a lot of things, but we knew it was probably good in Allen's favor. And then he sent a text right after and said first quarter. Just absurd. That team is really good. Can't wait to see them soon. I'm going to go with Dorian Hayes, Fort Bend Ridgepoint. I think it's just a guy I've taken for granted. I think the state, quite frankly, has taken him just for granted. I've seen Dorian for a couple years now, and it's not that I haven't seen him play well. I've never seen him play like an over-the-top, just can't miss a shot game. And, I just think I critiqued him a little bit hard. This guy has a 6'4" frame with pedigree. His dad played in the NBA. He gets to his spots. He can shoot it. He can get going. Like, it was just a no-brainer, and I just think we have him a little too low, quite frankly. And I got to see him on full display this weekend. And I was just texting the guys. I was like, man, I just feel like this guy just deserves to be higher, and he's going to be a star. And man, exciting for him to go to UTSA because I think he's going to get a chance to really, really play well in a fast-paced offense that suits him. So I just think Dorian Hayes, I just want to give him his flowers. Like, the guy's really, really, really stinking good, and maybe he's just not talked enough about. So I wanted to make sure and give that shout out. Blue, round us out.
Jackson Seastrunk from Xavier Academy. Now, yes, we've seen him. We talked about him. He's ranked in our top 100 at number 95, but apparently that's too low, especially after sitting, courtside again and really watching. This guy is energy to the fullest. I mean, he'll run down as a defender, he'll run you down in offensive transition and make you work for that layup or block or get a rebound, turn around, get transition started. He is so strong when he gets that ball in the wing, and he takes 2 dribbles and gets his toes in the paint and go finish with great body control, the physicality he brings. And I think that's really one thing that maybe even a little underrated also is that the ability when you're that strong, when you're that big, to be able to get that lift you need and control your body to go around defenders to go finish, that makes it very hard to guard. And he just kind of brings everything to the table, and he is a great ball handler, defender. He's very hard to guard. I mean, it's a lot of just power ball with him, and I love that. And he's and Division Ones. I know you're out there listening. Go start attacking this guy. This is a guy that you're going to want on your roster that can play in many different settings, many different types of up-tempo offenses, and I just think that he's a well-rounded player.
Well, hey, Blue,
Oh, go
Hey,
ahead.
Blue. You said you were courtside. You sitting Gucci Row out there in Houston? You was Gucci Row?
I made my own Gucci row because up there at the Den, they got these nice. Shout out to my to Marcus Sloan. I don't think he actually put the Lazy Boys in, but man, you got that retractable chair up there. You get a little. You can take a really nice nap and nobody even knows. So it's just.
Were you doing that or were
I
you
was upper
watching?
deck. No, I was not. But it's just they even had like a little side uh, display deal that you can put your phone on. It was great.
Blue sleeper of the week, lazy boy recliners.
I
Love it.
didn't have to take my lawn chair in there.
All right, let's go to team ranking overreaction. Blue, I'm going to pass this back to you. You have a hot take question, so we might as well just start there.
Yeah, Michael, jump in whenever you feel like it. It's just Brennan. I think part of this is also is when is the next step coming? Like 2 years ago is when we saw them at state. I mean, we know they're even better than 2 years ago. We know that
They were a
this is
shot away last year. I mean,
yes, and you look at you think back to what Lyndon said about them. It's all about timing. It's is this their time? This is the one thing that they need to put on their shelves is probably a title. And looking at them when they stroll out there and they get on that court, there's a lot of freaking college ready bodies. There's a lot of the strategy. The kids know exactly what they're going out there to do and to accomplish. Like they're on the same page. I've never seen where there's five in right there, and then they kind of they do some substitutions, and those players fit right back in. You got Kingston running the show. I think there's a different kind of hunger. They've always wanted, yes, to get to that championship game and get that title. But I mean, what do they have what have they not shown over the past 2 to 3 years that they're not number one? And then Allen jumps kind of everybody at this point, and that's where you're chasing right now is Allen High School. And at the same time here, Brennan's not backing down from anybody. They go out of town. They want to face the best, and they'll pop you in the mouth because they're that good. They're that good.
and for the record, right now we have Allen 1, DeVille 2, Brennan 3. Go ahead, Mike.
I want to jump in and do a league course on Not So Fast with because your question on our rundown is should they have been number one, which you were getting at, but you made such a compelling argument for Brennan, and at the end of the day, I can't ever say Not So Fast when you have Kingston Fleming on the other side. So I'm going to let you say what you said. I saw Allen, and I was pretty blown away with what they did in their first game, but I mean, it's going to be a lot of parity in the state. And I love it.
The beauty is it's going to play out on the hardwood, right?
Absolutely.
Mike, go.
For me, my team ranking overreaction, Mansfield Lake Ridge. Shout out Shakir Pack for having a little chuckle at our rankings. I think he thought they were a little too low. And, you just go out and play basketball and you win and it figures itself out. They went 2-0 this weekend, and they're one of those teams I'm talking about. The amount of extra possessions they create defensively with how hard they play, and then you match that with the playmakers they have. They have a great blend of 2025s, 2026s, and 2027s that all can go get a bucket. They all can turn defense to offense, and they showcased it. I'm very impressed with that Mansfield Lake squad.
Love it. Lyndon?
Yeah, for me, not a game that I was at, but had some Chris Broussard #sources tell us that Cameron Lomax was getting to it in a matchup between Frisco Heritage and Argyle. What was number 5 Argyle, number 6 Frisco Heritage in our 5A rankings. Really kind of, a lot of people, I mean, TABC didn't have Frisco Heritage ranked.
We did. We had them 6. Yeah. We are big believers in Heritage.
And I think that kind of cements them as like, it's not, hey, we have, 2 really talented players. They've got a full team that can go. They're deep. Their high-end talent is up there with anybody in 5A, and they're for real.
Frisco's loaded right now. Yeah. It's really good. I'm going to hop in and talk about Houston CE King. They're ranked 16 in our 6A rankings, and I'm going to be pleading with y'all that we are not dropping them. I know they lost to Bel Air by 1. I don't care. I'm basically doing it right now. This is what our ranking room will look like. They are not dropping, guys. Like, if anything, they could probably go up. They are led by the senior core of Christian Thomas, Eric Laverne, David Cross, and David Clayton. And they're tough, physical, and they're going to push anyone to the limit this year with how they play. And that was a team I was just very impressed with, even in the loss. So that's one that, I wish we would have had them higher, quite frankly. And even though they lost, I do not think they deserve to go down at all. Wrapping up this weekend, let's do our Where You Headed. Lyndon, you can even talk about this week, where you're headed. Yeah.
Yeah. Tonight, Champions Classic over at Ellis Davis. And then this weekend we'll be at the Noble, that Melissa versus the Colony, 2:00 tip at what's sure to be a packed house at the Colony. I'm sure that they got the students in the gym for that one. I'm looking forward to that atmosphere. And obviously you got number 1 and 26 with Dakari Spear against number 2 and 26 with Austin Gooseby. That's going to be electric.
Blue?
Alamo City Hoops Classic and then Noble Classic as I return to Dallas. You never know what kind of Antonio you're going to get. Are you going to get the fun-loving Antonio Alamo Hoops guy that's going to sit down and talk to you, or the one that's stopping the students from coming in through all the 4 doors? Like, he brings excitement off the court, and I got to be down there to watch TMI. I'll watch Faith Family again, see some Judson. You're laughing because you know exactly what I'm talking about, Timmons, and you know what? That guy is going to be all over the place, and I love his hospitality, and I'm sure he'll have some fajitas for us.
Man, that's good stuff. Mike?
Yeah, I'm going to the Champions Classic tonight. Also, me and Linda are going to head over there. Shout out to Snoop Johnson. Great idea. Hope they can pull it off. I'm excited for that. And then I will be at the aforementioned Antonio's Alamo City Hoops Classic.
How do you feel about that one?
Get you some fajitas, bro.
It's loaded. You just look at here. You got Faith Family, Houston Bel Air, Judson, Johnson, Alvin Shadow Creek, Steele, St. Michael's, TMI, Wagner, to name a few. Excited for that. Antonio has a great event, and I'm excited to get down to San Antonio. Maybe a day early, go to some of my favorite Mexican restaurants down in San Antonio and visit some family. So I'm excited for that. The tournament season goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be at Mavs on Thursday, Prosper Classic on Friday, and then Noble Classic on Saturday. I am jazzed up. We're going to get to see a lot of teams. It will be a good weekend, and we will have a great GASOcast for you next week. But with that being said, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a part of the Gaso team, and make sure you're following us because we're about to put out tons of content this week. Have a great one.